From the propeller-driven B-26 Invader to the jet-powered F-86 Sabre, the Korean War Gallery at the National Museum of the United States Air Force showcases the aircraft that fought in the skies over Korea from 1950 to 1953. Join us as we dive into their stories and the pivotal roles they played in this Cold War showdown. The OQ-14, developed by the Radio Plane Company during World War II, was a radio-controlled target drone used by the U.S. Army, Air Forces, and Navy to train anti-aircraft gunners, featuring a steel-tube fuselage and a 20-horsepower Ryder O45-1 engine that propelled it to speeds of about 140 miles per hour. It was launched by catapult and recovered by parachute, and was introduced in 1944 as an improved successor to the OQ-3. The YH-5 helicopter, part of Sikorsky's early rotorcraft lineage, was one of 26 YR-5A test models delivered to the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1944, featuring a 48-foot rotor diameter and a range of 280 miles tailored for experimental roles like casualty evacuation. Its development marked a significant leap from the R-4, with a more robust airframe and a payload capacity that included 2 external stretchers, though its tailwheel configuration was later updated in variants like the 85D to a tricycle undercarriage. This YH-5A showcases its tandem seating and tailwheel landing gear, reflecting its role as a transitional design in helicopter history before its redesignation as H-5 in 1948. Sikorsky's UH-19 Chickasaw, known commercially as the S-55, was its first widely produced utility helicopter, adopted by the U.S. Air Force in 1950 and later by the Army, Navy, and Marines, featuring a unique forward engine placement that freed up cabin space for cargo or 6 stretchers. In Korea, it excelled in diverse missions, rescuing downed pilots, ferrying supplies, and even serving as a command platform, logging thousands of sorties, with the Air Force alone accepting 50 H-19As by 1952 and later upgrading to the UH-19B/D models with greater power. This UH-19B, with its distinctive nose-mounted engine and bubble canopy, showcases its pivotal role in transitioning helicopter use from experimental World War II efforts to standard military practice by the late 1950s. North American Aviation's L-17 Navion, first flown in 1946 as a civilian aircraft, was militarized with a 185-horsepower engine and a cruising speed of about 140 miles per hour, becoming a key asset for the U.S. military during the late 1940s and the Korean War for liaison and utility missions. With its production split between North American and Ryan, over 240 were built, equipped with upgrades like increased fuel capacity, and used extensively in Korea for everything from troop shuttling to spotting enemy positions. The L-17 was a versatile workhorse, bridging the gap between World War II-era designs and the jet age until it was phased out and redesignated as the U-18 in 1962. North American's T-6D Mosquito, a specialized variant of the T-6 Texan Advanced Trainer, was repurposed during the Korean War as a forward air control FAC aircraft, powered by a 600-horsepower Pratt & Whitney R1340 Wasp engine that gave it a top speed of about 206 miles per hour. Assigned to the 6,147th Tactical Control Group, dubbed the Mosquitoes, it flew low and slow over the Korean peninsula, using smoke rockets and radio to mark enemy targets like tanks and bunkers for jet fighters, despite its lack of armor or heavy armament. Over 40,000 sorties were logged, contributing to the destruction of thousands of North Korean assets, though the T-6D's vulnerability led to 42 losses, earning the unit a presidential citation for bravery in 1951. This preserved example showcases its transition from a World War II-era trainer, part of the 15,000-plus T-6 family, to critical combat support role before jets like the F-86 Sabre took over FAC duties by 1953. The C-124 Globemaster II, first flown in 1949 and operational by 1950, was a behemoth cargo plane that transformed U.S. military logistics, using its 4 Pratt & Whitney R4360 engines to lift 68,000 pounds of cargo or 200 troops at a cruising speed of about 200 miles per hour. During the Korean War, it excelled in trans-Pacific airlifts, moving entire squadrons' worth of equipment and setting records like a 1952 double-deck load of 79 tons, though its shaky ride and frequent engine issues earned it the Old Shaky moniker from crews. It later aided Cold War efforts, including Antarctic missions and refugee airlifts, before retiring in 1974 as the C-5 Galaxy took over heavy lift duties. This C-124C, with its clamshell doors, is a reminder of its era-defining role in keeping the military mobile from Korea to the 1970s. Douglas's B-26 Marauder, first flown in 1940, was a World War II mainstay with its twin R-2800 engines and 7-man crew, delivering precise strikes on German infrastructure and Japanese bases with a combat radius of 550 miles. Its Korean War role began in 1950, where it flew over 2,000 sorties with the 3rd Bomb Wing, using its speed to conduct low-level night attacks on North Korean convoys, despite increasing vulnerability to MiG-15s and anti-aircraft fire. Over 110,000 sorties across World War II and Korea underscored its reliability, with the B-26C's armament, including 650 caliber guns, making it a formidable foe until jet technology rendered it obsolete by the mid-1950s. This B-26C highlights a bomber that evolved from a tricky debut to a respected veteran, retiring after a decade of service that shaped tactical air power in 2 conflicts. First flown in 1947, the North American B-45 Tornado was developed under urgent post-war pressure to counter Soviet threats, becoming the first American 4-engine jet bomber with a crew of 4 and a payload capacity rivaling the B-29 Superfortress, though at twice the speed at 570 miles per hour. During the Korean War, the 47th Bomb Wing deployed B-45As in 1950 for daylight bombing and our B-45C variants for high-altitude reconnaissance over China and North Korea, flying over 200 sorties despite vulnerability to MiGs and maintenance challenges with its early jet engines. Production totaled 143 airframes across the A, B, and C models, with the B-45C's upgrades like a radar nose and 1,200-gallon tip tanks extending its range, though its straight-wing limitations led to its retirement by 1959 for more advanced bombers. This B-45C was restored with markings of the 47th Bomb Wing, highlighting its brief but groundbreaking tenure as the Air Force's jet bombing trailblazer. First flown in 1944 as the XP-80, Lockheed's F-80 Shooting Star was designed by Kelly Johnson's Lockheed Skunk Works in just 143 days, entering service in 1945 with a top speed of 580 miles per hour and a range of 1,090 miles. In Korea with the 35th and 51st Fighter Wings, it flew critical interdiction missions, dropping napalm and strafing enemy positions, and achieved history's first jet victory over a MiG-15. Though its straight wings and lighter armament limited its dogfighting edge against faster foes. Production reached 1,732 units, with the F-80C variant, upgraded with a more powerful J-33A-35 engine, also serving as a reconnaissance RF-80 and T-33 trainer platform, bridging the gap until swept-wing jets dominated by 1953. This F-80C, painted in 8 fighter bomber wing colors, showcases its 34-foot 6-inch length and early jet design, a symbol of the rapid shift to jet warfare in the late 1940s and early 1950s. In Korea, Lockheed's F-82 twin Mustangs served primarily as a night fighter and reconnaissance platform, equipped with radar to hunt enemy aircraft under cover of darkness during the war's opening months. The 339th Fighter All-Weather Squadron used it to protect evacuation flights during the desperate retreat from Kimpo and Seoul, showcasing its versatility in a rapidly shifting battlefield. While its 650 caliber machine guns packed a punch against North Korean Yak-9s and LA-7s, its slow speed and outdated design made it vulnerable once jet combat dominated the skies. This F-82B, famous for a 1947 record flight from Hawaii to New York, is modified and marked as the F-82G that shot down a North Korean LA-7. Republic's F-84 Thunderjet, operational by 1947, was a straight-wing jet fighter with a top speed of 622 miles per hour, powered by an Allison J-35 engine that grew from 4,000 to 5,600 pounds of thrust across variants, designed to replace piston-engine fighters like the P-47 Thunderbolt. In Korea, the F-84E and G models flew with the 116th Fighter Bomber Wing, delivering over 50,000 tons of ordnance and earning a reputation for durability despite losing 153 planes, mostly to ground fire rather than MiGs, which its design couldn't match in dogfights. Over 7,500 were produced, with the F-84G's innovations like in-flight refueling extending its 1,485-mile range, serving until 1957 when swept-wing successors took over, though it lingered in Air National Guard units into the 1960s. This F-84G highlights its 12,000-pound takeoff weight and combat versatility, a bridge between early jet experiments and the jet age's full realization in Korea and beyond. North American's F-86A's operational tenure began as a Cold War interceptor, but it found its true calling in Korea, where it flew over 300,000 sorties, primarily against MiG-15s in the treacherous MiG Alley region. Stationed at forward bases like Suwon and Kimpo, it supported UN ground operations by disrupting enemy air activity, with pilots adapting to its strengths, agility, and dive speed to overcome the MiG's advantages. While its armament and lack of radar restricted its versatility, the F-86's success relied heavily on experienced pilots, many of whom were World War II veterans transitioning to jet combat. By 1954, as the Air Force adopted more advanced fighters, the F-86A was reassigned to training roles or exported to allies. Debuting just before the Korean War, the F-94A Starfire served stateside with outfits like the 2nd Fighter Interceptor Squadron, standing guard against potential Soviet incursions while newer jets handled overseas combat. Its design prioritized speed and radar capability over firepower, with the 450 caliber guns proving less effective against heavily armored bombers, a weakness addressed in later variants with rockets. The F-94A's service was marked by rapid deployment and equally rapid obsolescence, as its teething problems, engine fires, and electrical glitches highlighted the challenges of early jet technology. By 1951, it was already being overshadowed by the F-94B, but its brief service laid the groundwork for radar-guided jet interception tactics. Designed by the Mikoyan-Gurevich Bureau, the MiG-15 served as the backbone of communist air forces in Korea, with over 3,000 deployed by China and North Korea, supported by Soviet training and logistics. Its swept-wing design and powerful VK-1 engine allowed it to reach speeds near Mach 1, while its 237mm and 123mm cannons delivered devastating firepower against bombers like the B-29. The MiG-15's role shifted from air superiority to intercepting UN bombing raids, challenging American air dominance and prompting tactical changes like night operations. Though it faced losses against the better-trained F-86 pilots, its sheer numbers and agility kept it a constant threat throughout the conflict. From the F-86 Sabre to the MiG-15, the Korean War Gallery wraps up an unforgettable journey through a conflict that redefined air warfare. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out this amazing museum to see these legends up close.